Hi and welcome to another episode of Bridging International Waters with me, Marcus Farry, and the amazing
Priyanka Pandit.
Hey, how have you been,
Hey,
Priyanka, since our
Marcus.
last one?
Very, very good, Marcus. Thank you. How have you been?
I've been well. I mean, we in England, it's not that quite sunny in this March, but I hope we do get the weather coming through soon and lighter and brighter days.
Yeah, no, I think in Bombay right now we're hot enough for the both of us.
Yeah, send some sun our way, please.
Oh
Oh,
gosh.
brilliant. Um, Today, episode 4 is all about listening and the skills that changes conflict. What are your thoughts on this before we dive straight in, Priyanka?
Oh
How
yes,
important
I
is
couldn't
listening?
agree more. It's extremely important. I mean, as a mediator, that's really all we're doing. All we're doing is listening. Because if we can't do that, we probably won't be able to guide the parties to understand each other and what they're saying. Because I mean, when we deep dive and we talk more about it, I think this is one thing that we can never talk enough about.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then it's what it's because you have to understand. So we're gonna explore all of this today in our episode, and we're so excited to bring this to you as well, and for the
Oh
amazing
yes.
charity we're working with. So again, as explained by the awesome Priyanka, in this episode, we're going to explore why listening is essential in conflict. Now, it's a huge part of resolution listening because if something's picked up and heard and listened to and felt, you can really understand what it's like for the other party. So in this, again, we'll deep dive into how poor listening fuels misunderstanding. I'll say that again just to make sure you're listening. How poor listening fuels misunderstanding. Because if something's misunderstood, it's not heard correctly, then how do we know if we even listened to the point in the first place? So that's what we're going to explain the difference between hearing and listening, and why active listening changes difficult conversations. Um, it takes it to whole new dynamics when you really explore how much people don't listen in the workplace in general, not just the workplace, but in general. So we're going to deep dive into there and the core and importance of it. We'll show you why listening is one of mediation's most powerful tools, and how to really understand that from the other party when they're in that conflicting situation as well. Even a one-to-one session, joint session, me and Priyanka will give some core examples today alongside why it's really important as well. So over to Priyanka. Let's go.
Yes. So I think it starts with the basics. What is the difference between hearing and listening? So when you're hearing, your brain is just adapting to recognize the language, the tone, the voice, and the words, and trying to make sense of what is being said. But listening is focused attention. When you listen to someone, you're very often not so concerned with what is being said. You're actually trying to understand what the subtext or the subtone is. So, you're trying to understand the meaning and emotion that is involved when you're listening to someone, and especially in conflict. In conflict, all of us are already dealing with situations where our emotions are heightened. And if it's a dispute that is personal to you, which very often happens in conflict, then listening becomes even more important, because instead of just focusing on words that may sometimes come across as harmful, rude, harsh, brute, you can actually, by listening, try and understand what the concerns are, which are underlying. And very often people don't want to talk about it openly, right? Many conflicts, in fact, spiral into something much worse only because people feel that they are not being listened to. Nobody's understanding them, nobody's hearing them. And while it's very easy to talk about, it is extremely difficult to do. Because when you're in conflict, and if you're one of the affected parties and you're living this conflict, you have your feelings and emotions attached, you've got your positions and interests aligned, and you want to be heard. Each one of us as a human being wants to be heard. And if imagine if both sides are just doing that, nobody's listening to the other anyway. Which is why in mediation becomes very, very important to have the attention and the patience to allow the other person to speak, listen to them when they're doing that. And that is when the understanding begins. And it is when the other person believes that they are now being understood and they have a safe space to speak, that is when they feel genuinely heard. And that is when the change starts to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you agree, Marcus?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Give an example. Right, let's get a little bit more creative. Is there an example you can provide where this actually switched from conflict to actual resolution in the space of a short period of time when something was felt and heard and listened to, and you see and you see the aha,
You
wow, the aha moment.
Surprisingly, now that you ask me that, I have lived through an example way back in my life when I was still in school, and I have seen something like this actually happened. So when I was in school, my class was a bunch of very, very naughty girls. I'm from an all girls school, and my class was one of the most notorious batches there. And one day, some of the girls in our class had gotten really angry about something that our class teacher had said, and they cut off the wires of some tube lights and fans, etc. And so we were all, of course, put in detention. And one of the senior mistresses came and she wanted to speak with us. And she asked us a reason. And she knew who were the most naughtiest of the lot. So she picked out a few girls and she started to ask them questions one by one. And one girl stood up and she just started to she was very angry about the way that the class was treated, and why we were singled out and we were punished just because we were overly naughty, and we were given blame for some of the things that they had not done. So she was really angry, so she got up and she just started to as she spoke, she got really loud. It almost felt like she was screaming, but she was saying absolutely everything that she wanted to say to this teacher. And this teacher's face, while I was one of the students who was just sitting there and observing, and I could see the teacher's face become just more angry and upset because of the way she was being spoken to, and she was not paying attention to anything. And then this one other girl got up out of turn and she calmed down the girl who was speaking before. And she asked the teacher permission to say, may I clarify what my friend is trying to say. And then the teacher said yes, because the teacher at this point was fed up of being screamed at. So the teacher said yes, please, go ahead. And this girl very calmly put down the same points, but in a very calm tone, in a very unrushed manner, and explained the reasons behind why they felt the way they felt and why they did what they did. And the first thing that this teacher said after this girl stopped speaking was, did you all see the difference? I listened when she was talking to me in that calm tone and voice, because I felt like, okay, she's not disrespecting me. She's actually explaining and talking to me calmly. And she allowed me to talk to her and ask questions in the process when I wanted to interject. And that was eureka moment for me. I was like, wow, it's not just what you say, it's also how you say it.
Yes, that is. And thank you for sharing that awesome story. That is so historical of how even then, and when we
Yes,
take it to today's present, when sometimes the listening
absolutely.
is to hear and to be heard and listened to, it's just totally missed
Yes,
sometimes. And it's like, if there's like
absolutely.
that's how it's like obscured, which brings us great to our next slide of why listening does break down. It's um
Absolutely.
so you see a lot in mediation every day of life where someone hears something, um and all they don't hear what they've said, they haven't heard what they said, all they're in a position to do is defend their ground, their territory. This could be in a global. Sometimes it's just, I want to defend. I'm not really interested in what's being said. I will defend and defend and defend and defend, and that's the only way they will respond, to defend. Or it could be like an attack. Say, look, the ear defenders are on, because nothing's going to be listened to. The ear defenders are on, and it's just like, yeah, like, and I see this, like, even when you're in social settings and you're thinking that person hasn't actually heard what they've said, and they've just had an emotional trigger. Strong emotions, here we go. Second point, an emotional trigger that's blocked that understanding for them, and it's just been missed, totally been missed. And with these emotions that I can get really strong in, whether it's a social setting or, oh, I didn't mean to say that, but they've took it on a big, strong emotional level. It's upset them because of whatever reason they've been through as a person. And it's like, it's totally blocked from, they then become obscure to the actual point that was being made. And they assume, which replaces the curiosity question. This is quite well. Do you know what I'm reading? I've not read. I've read the slide, but I've not. It's just unfolding. So it's like they've just not heard, and then it comes into they assume that they meant that about them. They feel singled out in that situation, and we come to a standpoint where nothing gets understood if they were then. And it's like a full circle, because listen, not heard, felt judged, misunderstood, and then it's like then the loop then begins of total miscommunication, which is how it usually ends up going forwards. It's like, well, I don't like this person, or I don't like this situation because this person said this, and when you speak to the other person, it was like, we still here, it wasn't meant like that. I've tried to explain to them that when I did come into the office that day, or I didn't mean to accidentally spill my drink, and then it went on their laptop. It was totally innocent. It wasn't intentful. And then you're back into this art of where, well, they've never liked me. And it's like, well, maybe they've tried to. I mean, I don't know, right? I mean, yeah.
No, but it's so true. We're so predisposed to just assuming that what we felt or sensed in that short while is the only truth, right? We don't, and we allow our emotions to take over, and we don't give anybody an opportunity to actually understand what was meant or what was the intention there. So I think it becomes important to then understand how active listening is different from just listening. And maybe you and I can do a quick role play to sort of give an example of what active listening could be like. So our viewers could sort of, get more reference to context. So it begins with, of course, giving your full attention. Now, this is critical to understand because as a party, if you're someone who is in the conflict, when you're even listening to someone else, let's say you're in the opening session and you're listening to the other side give their opening statement, you want to jump to say, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
Or I disagree. Or if they say something that you're hearing for the first time, you're like, oh, I didn't know this. Never thought about this. But what's happening is you're allowing your thought process to take over in the background, and it happens so naturally.
Yeah.
It happens so naturally. It's almost automatic. Everybody does it without any prompting. And it's only because we are not trained to give someone our full attention and just listen to them so that we can then take our own time to process.
Well said.
And this is something that can only come with practice, because it is so human for us to jump at the first moment or opportunity to just sort of say what we want to say and get it out of our system, right? It feels like, really, it's like a feeling of relief, like a weight lifts. But active listening is all about allowing someone to speak their mind without them having to have any fear of judgment, without them feeling like they're being rushed into something, without them feeling like this is just a formality. They're just giving me a space to say something because it's a part of a process. They actually have to feel comfortable to really, really speak their hearts and minds out. And what becomes more important is to reflect on what you've heard. Take a pause, hear what the other side has said, and after you've been able to subsume that, if there are still anything, any thoughts in your mind which you'd like to seek clarification for, summarize, ask them if you've understood correctly. It's not about feeling like, the other side's going to think you're stupid because you're asking questions. A lot of us have a lot of apprehensions about asking questions also. We're very afraid of asking questions because we feel the other side will judge us based on what we're asking. They'll think that we don't know better or we don't know enough, or someone will think we're stupid just for asking questions. Very, very important to not let these fears and apprehensions also sort of get to us, right? So ask clarifying questions and ask them genuinely. That curiosity will come through. You will be able to tell like this if someone is just pretending to listen to you and someone is genuinely listening to you. It's a very human skill. We all have it. And of course, showing respect, so important. I mean, as a lawyer, there have been so many conferences that I've had with clients where I have absolutely disagreed with the instructions that have been given to me. And as a lawyer, I can tell them, look, legally, this is not going to fly. But it's hard, but you have to learn over time that even if you disagree with something, you still have to respect that that is their opinion, that is their perspective. You may not always have to agree with something, but it does not take away respect from the equation.
Absolutely.
So that's really what active listening looks like. Marcus, should we do a quick sort of role play for active listening? What would you suggest we do? Yeah, how should we do this?
Let's do it. Create a scenario where you would like a wall painting red and I would like the same wall painting blue.
Okay, done.
Yeah.
Done. Oh. So this is the wall over the fireplace, and I think it should be red simply because it's just going to make our wooden fireplace look so much more beautiful. And the red will sort of go with the orange and the yellow of the fire, and it just look really nice.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, and I respect the fact that we've had time today to conduct this. I feel like it would look better blue because for me, from my perspective, it looks better and feels better when I walk into the room, which complements the fireplace much better in the color of blue, I feel.
So let me just understand correctly what you've just shared. You think that if you walk into a room that's painted blue and not red, it'll feel better for you. Is this because you don't like the feel of red, or do you associate red with something that's not positive for you?
I just generally I think it's blue's my favorite color. And as I feel like other people may see that as their favorite color as well.
You'd love for everybody to agree with you, wouldn't you, Marcus? That's really what's driving this. Oh gosh. No, but
yeah.
Do you think there's a possibility that you could try maybe doing red for a little bit and seeing whether that makes you feel as good, and then deciding?
Okay, that's a very good point. So what you're trying to say is let's try the color red first and then move on to the color blue, if that, or make it like an intertwined
Or
type
you could
of...
you could intertwine.
I'd never
You could
thought
even
about
do
that
a half
option.
and half.
Yeah, so let's trial run red in that respect. So what I've heard you say now, which I am also happy with, is let's trial run red, and if we can put a little blue in there, we can then work with that going forward, and then we can adapt as we feel on whichever style suit fits. Yeah, okay, let's shake your head and agree on that.
Something you can try. Great. Awesome.
And as easy as that, guys, we have now a red wall that may be becoming blue upon going forward. But the key components were we listened to each other's side. We didn't jump down each other's throat, and there was feelings on both sides of why that may be heard, felt, understood with reason, and it was honest intent that both parties came together with honest intent of what they felt most comfortable with, and there was a outcome where we were going to trial different things that makes it work, and there was like a flexibility option which made me feel comfortable and or Priyanka. So yeah, feeling heard can literally reduce that tension. Like I felt like when I was deciding what color I wanted, I felt heard and respected, and that made me feel that I wanted to again try this new chapter, try this new direction going forward. Because in the end of that small discussion, although it was relatively quick, it did feel exciting. Like, okay, we can try both colors, and then we just went with that direction. So I respected.
But imagine what would have happened, Marcus, if I would not have done that. If my approach would have been saying, no, that's just rubbish. I don't like look. That is what happens when you focus on what you don't like or what you don't agree on.
Yeah.
You're not really listening to what the other side is saying. What I did there, the minor shift there, was that I actually tried to clarify and understand why he wants it blue.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of focusing on his choice. And that is really the shift in active listening. I mean, that is why there was no tension, there was no fight, there was no escalation, and we went to resolution saying, okay, what else is possible? Right? Yeah. And that is why we walked away with respect and understanding for each other. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And that's, I mean, we're saying the conflict's always going to be about deciding what colour wallpaper you want, but I can guarantee there's families out there that have walked through
for sure.
when they get new houses for decorating walls.
I've done it with my sister. If my sister's listening to this podcast, I call her Tai. Tai and I have had so many fights. We've spent a month once in our older house deciding what color the main the wall in our living room should be, and in the end, it was orange. It was not even the color we started on.
And then that's it. It's like so far from what was. And it was like, well, how did we end up here? Well, we just agreed in the end.
Yeah.
We got an orange wall.
No, I think that one my mother mediated because she saw the two of us fighting constantly. She's like, I'm not going to listen to both of your colors. It's going to be the color I pick. That was it. That's one way to settle also. But no, I think I think what happens is, when this happens, when this sort of process takes over, when the other side feels acknowledged, like when they at least feel that, all right, the other person tried to understand, even if it's an attempt, that also makes a lot of difference. And it can really it can really make you feel at peace in some sense. You know?
Yeah. So as a reflection, when was the last time someone truly listened to you? That's a good question. That's a good reflection.
That's a very good question. Yeah.
When was the last time someone truly listened to me?
Can you recall something?
So everyone needs to take the notepads out now and write that question down and in their own time, because we've got around a few minutes left before we go. And just make note of that, and then try and make note of what was said and what was felt from you. And then you can build on that in your relationships, whether it's workplace, community, family, intimate.
Business.
You can really grow on that going forward, right? And then
absolutely
doing it like that.
Yeah.
Priyanka, the bridge moments for you.
The bridge moment.
What do you reckon?
A healthy workplace isn't conflict free, it's conflict capable. This is amazing. I couldn't agree more with this. Absolutely. it is impossible for anybody to claim, honestly, that their workplace is conflict free. It can never
Yeah.
happen. It can never happen. You're
Yeah.
just putting stuff under the carpet, guys. If you're saying that, you're just
Yeah.
putting stuff under the carpet. And it's a healthy sign. Don't get me wrong. Conflict is a very healthy sign. One way to look at conflict from a different lens entirely is that when there's conflict, it means that people actually care.
Yeah.
Because if you don't care, you're indifferent, which means if people at the workplace are fighting about something, they care about what they're doing or what's happening to them, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great sign. It's most critical, therefore, to accept that there's always going to be conflict and that you should be prepared and ready and capable to handle conflict because it can be handled, it can be managed, it can be worked through.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
yeah.
great point. That is a great point. Well explained. You'd be
Yeah.
worried if there weren't any conflicts in the workplace because there'd be
Yes.
no moving, there'd be no conflict moves things forwards, resolution,
Yes.
growth happens in the uncomfortable. And
Absolutely.
and if it's a bit uncomfortable at work, great. So what needs changing, what needs moving forward for this team to grow, for this individual to perform better? Let's sit
Yes.
down and discuss that. Wow.
Yes.
What a great episode. Thank you again so much. And
Thank you,
yeah,
Marcus.
I really appreciate your
Thank
time
you.
as always. I'll see you
Yes,
next time, yeah?
I'll see you in the next one.
Okay. Take care. Bye. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.